Welcome back, everyone, to the Profluent Sports Podcast. Excited today. Always great bringing in capital folks and people doing unique things at the intersection of all of that. So I have Taylor Meyer here today from Hyperspace Ventures. So Taylor, appreciate you hopping on and excited to dive into this one.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me, Andrew. Great to connect.
Big pickleball announcement recently. I'm just going to start here. Probably best to give how your background, what you guys do, all into it. Give us the lowdown on it was like 5 million plus deployed across pickleball. You're helping building part of these, obviously the capital deployment. Give us, while tying in everything, what's Hyperspace mission, what you guys are doing in pickleball, and I'm sure that will cover, so it's not like three different questions. We can tie it all into one thing.
Sure. Yeah, no, happy to dive in. Hyperspace Ventures in a nutshell started 7, 8 years ago by Zach Hunter and me, and we really started it with the mission of helping other businesses build their technology, build their products, and grow into hopefully big companies. That's really what we love doing. At the center of it is all software, kind of entrepreneurial initiatives. So it's been a super fun business. And then fast forward more recently. It started on the pickleball lens. We built a product called Top Court, which was an e-learning platform to help people initially learn the sport of tennis from the best players in the world. I played varsity tennis at the University of North Carolina, as did Zach Hunter, Alex Rafi, two other partners at Hyperspace. So we had a big passion for tennis and racket sports and started there. And then pickleball started to really come onto the scene. 2020 and beyond. And as a result of that, we thought it was a logical next step to sign some of the top pickleball pros and build some curriculum to add that sport to the platform. Simultaneously, Dunn Capital, who's probably the brainchild of all things pickleball, was working on a big roll up and they wanted to own the sport. Pretty unique opportunity to do so, given how new everything was, how fragmented everything was. So in that roll up, we were fortunate to kind of join that journey and kind of see everything unfold behind the scenes. Fast forward a couple years later, after hard pressing, we were able to kind of contribute some additional capital just to kind of back the mission and see if we could help accelerate the growth. So we made a $5+ million investment into the broader sport of pickleball, and they're doing incredible things. Again, all gratitude to Dunn Capital for letting us get involved and play a very small role in all things pickleball.
Super cool. And what was when you guys started Hyperspace, like what was the need? Was it more focused on the design and building of things, and then capital came later? Was it always in the rear, I guess really the front view mirror of like,
Yeah.
hey, that's an opportunity down the line? Or how did you guys think about it, and how's it evolved over time?
Yeah, I mean, I think the technology continues to evolve rapidly as far as what we're looking to build, the skill sets we're looking to have on the team. But at its inception, I think we were really just facing a large number of people who were coming to us after having sold our first business, just asking for help, running into the typical problems that a lot of early stage tech founders may have around, finding the right team, the right co-founders, actually getting a product to market. I think more oftentimes than not, if you're not an early stage tech founder, you can attest to the fact that it's easier said than done to build a really world-class product. And we just saw a lot of people not even get to market or not have their idea become a reality. And from there, you never know where they're going to grow into or what they're going to become. So we wanted to help out. Like I said, it's our passion. We love entrepreneurship. We love founders. We love technology. So it was really exciting for us to just build on the software design and development front. So a lot of web applications, mobile applications, anything internet technology related was the core of what we did. And again, you help build an MVP, you help build an early stage product, and the founders can run with it and it grows into $100 million company. Really what we love, gets us excited, and it pains us when there are these great ideas out there and maybe they didn't get that first kind of ignition or get something to market to see their inevitable success.
Yeah, it's super cool. And why don't you, just for background, give a little bit of the company you built and sold first, just some context there, because I do believe a lot of you can track how people build and why they build certain things based off the past and what they saw. So if you can just high level
Yeah.
overview that, and then also any learnings from it that you've started to apply here, which I think you've already touched on a few, but
Yeah. So our first business, we were undergrad students at the University of North Carolina. Like I mentioned, Zach and I both were on the tennis team, best friends for 15 plus years at this point. And it's crazy to think, but this is circa 2010. Google Mobile is still pretty early, and then the App Store had just launched. So all of this is brand new technology on the scene. And at those times, it was a little bit tricky to figure out what was around you in the college town. And then we noticed the big pain points of, affordability and paying for off-campus meals and the nightlife scene. So we built the first company called UConnection. It was just that. It was mobile application, iOS and Android, where you could find all the best spots in the college town. And then if you had the application as a student, you'd never pay full price for off-campus dining and nightlife. So started at UNC, ultimately grew it to hundreds of colleges all over the country, had hundreds of thousands of students in savings each year, and then sold that to a boutique PE firm that was doing a roll-up in the collegiate space. That was in 2016. So that was kind of our first, dipping our toes into entrepreneurship per se. We were hooked. We always laugh and look back, but we were young kids. We'd go to the movies and watch The Social Network. Mark Zuckerberg, he was a kid, and he had his whole story of just insane success. So that was something we always looked up to and were pretty inspired by. And again, have kind of been rolling that theme ever since.
Yeah, would you say a lot of your projects span still in sports just because of the passion coming from tennis, being a former, high level athlete, or, pretty broad, or just sort of where the clients come from and what interests you, what's sort of the balance or portfolio of design
Yeah.
slash build slash capital look like?
Yeah, so I would say we are industry agnostic at this point. We've probably built some sort of technology product in just about every industry, every business model out there. But with that being said, five of the partners are all avid sports fans, having played sports in college. And I think because of that, just subliminally, we've been more drawn to sports and sports tech ventures. So we do have quite a bit in the portfolio now. Another super fun example I love to give, Learn to Win. They actually just did a big rebrand to Ethos. They started by digitizing playbook learning back in 2018 for collegiate football and basketball programs. They now are a micro learning and training platform for all sorts of industries and verticals, particularly with the DoD. But that's a fun one. Again, we helped build their MVP, got them off the ground. Two incredible co-founders, now a very valuable company. But yeah, all things in sports, we probably have something that covers just about every vertical. And now we're, yeah, very aggressively leaning into pickleball and really excited about the future there.
Yeah, it's exciting. And I know some of this has been highlighted in press releases and stuff around your pickleball, but from that at a high level, and obviously there's an opportunity that came through the Dundons and et cetera. But what interests you about that? When you look at it, you take away the design, build, anything from there. When you look at it purely, and I believe, you play pickleball as well. Still, we've seen a lot of tennis players, sort of hop over that a little less intense on the body from that side of things. But, from a business perspective as well, like if you were just an investor and that was all you did, what
Yep.
interests you or what sort of pops out about pickleball?
Yeah, pickleball is really fascinating, and I think, I played tennis competitively my whole life. So when it first came on the scene, like many tennis players, I was probably a bit in the haters category. Didn't love it, different game, not the real deal, all that good stuff. But every year it's grown on me from a fun and enjoyment perspective. But I think I avidly play now all the time when I can, getting my daughter into it, the whole nine. But I think from a business perspective, what's so interesting or unique about pickleball specifically is you can kind of treat it like a software project or startup in the sense that the infrastructure or distribution was already there, not only across the US, but globally, and that was through tennis. So it's very easy for anybody to take a tennis court and convert it into a pickleball court. I feel like if you're starting up new scene sports, the capital cost can be quite a bit higher to build out all of that infrastructure, and it can take a lot longer to do so. With pickleball, those barriers aren't there, which is probably one of the reasons why it's grown so quickly economically as well, just from like a space and how much you can pull dollar per square foot out. You can put two plus pickleball courts in the space of one tennis court. So economically, you can actually monetize the space a little bit better for pretty low initial capital costs. You also typically see, four people playing on a pickleball court, whereas tennis, singles and doubles is probably a bit more split. If not, I'd guess leans a bit more heavily on singles than doubles. And then the other big component that we like or found pretty fascinating is the growth curve, or I should say the learning curve, is a lot less steep than some of the other sports. I love playing golf too, but it's a tough sport to get out there and play. And I'd say the same with tennis. Love playing tennis, but to find somebody to play tennis with and have a good time is a challenge. Pickleball, you can have literally my 4-year-old, you can have an 80-year-old, and they can kind of get on a court and at least have a good time. And because of that, it's just so accessible and very fun. And I think from that stems a lot of the social appeal too. So it's a great way to connect, make friends, potentially do business with one another, etc. So for all of those reasons, yeah, we're pretty bullish and just excited about it.
Yeah, the rise of pickleball has been pretty fun to watch. Do you look at padel or paddle at all? I know obviously that one's been growing like crazy. We've had some guests on of the leagues or some of the teams or some of the infrastructure plays of it. How do you view that sport? Just sort of tying in. You talked about pickleball, we talked about tennis, but that one's obviously emerging pretty big here too in the States.
Yeah, no, paddle's super fun too. Played with some of my teammates on a reunion trip a couple years ago, and some courts are starting to pop up here in Raleigh. So I definitely love playing paddle as well. I think paddle's interesting in the sense that maybe I'd put it in between tennis and pickleball from a learning curve perspective, and then from a facilities kind of build out perspective, a little bit more capital intensive just to build some of these clubs, the courts, and really grow that infrastructure. But no doubt it is happening. I think it'll continue to grow here in the United States, and I think it's fun too. Pickleball is kind of just starting its venture outside of the States, and PPA Tour is growing rapidly in Asia, Australia, and other markets around the corner. And then on the converse, paddles started more Europe, Middle East, etc. And now it's coming to the States. So it'll be fun, and I think both will certainly coexist and have a lot of room to grow.
I agree. Yeah, they're both pretty different and fun in different ways, but both social, which is what people want. It's interesting to see, even down here in St. Pete, they're building one. It has tennis courts, pickleball courts, paddle courts. It has, I think, squat. Like it has like all the racket sports in one spot. So it's pretty interesting to see all the collision of all the racket sports, and that's cool. Racket X, it's a new event that is every March in Miami. It's pretty wild to see it all come together now, and pretty cool. But I want to go back just to the building component a little bit. Now, obviously, you built your own company. You've again started another company, which is you're earning a little of the capital and helping other people, but it's still being a founder. And then obviously helping a lot of these early stage ones. Where do people make mistakes? Where are some of the problems you see? You talked about, hey, people have great ideas, but they mess up some things like execution. What are some of the things that stand out that maybe can be corrected if there's just a little bit of guidance given?
Sure. Yeah, it's a good question, coming up with a laundry list of things, trying to think what might be the biggest or most frequent occurrences. I might say a few things in terms of building products. One, in terms of establishing the founding team, sometimes we'll see founders find the perceived co-founder or CTO. They'll end up giving a substantial chunk of the company over to that individual, and for whatever reason, it doesn't pan out. One ends up pursuing something else. Maybe one didn't necessarily have the skill sets to kind of tackle all of the problems or just product roadmap that they had. And then the company is kind of left, one person remains and they own a much smaller percentage of the company, which gives them less wiggle room to go out and raise capital or give options to some early stage, very talented employees. So that could certainly be one. I think two, I think a lot of people probably underestimate just the acumen and kind of seniority to build something that's going to be great and something that you can actually get that initial traction with, whether that's revenue or user metrics, to get that appeal from an early stage VC or investor. Oftentimes people may think, hey, I've found this one person, they're going to part-time hack away, or they claim to be able to solve all my technical problems as the CTO, and that ends up just being a challenge and something that maybe takes a lot longer to get through to that next milestone than they would have hoped for. So that's another thing that we see quite frequently. And then, two, I think it's always important to think about as a founder, everybody you bring in or hire may not work as hard as you or be as dedicated as you, the founder. I think everybody as the founder, like it's your baby. It's something that you're going to be working harder than anybody else on the team presumably on, and just recognizing that and planning for that, and also understanding that employees do leave at the end of the day. They may get poached on LinkedIn by another company. They may be more interested by something, and just being able to account and plan for what happens if I do have this integral team member on the product side who could be fantastic or great, but then they get pushed by Google and now there's really nobody on the bench to kind of backfill that role. I think as a founder, the earliest stages are so tough because you don't necessarily have that bench to pull people on. So if somebody does leave or there's gaps, it could take months to kind of backfill those and get back on track. So those are just a couple that we see pretty frequently, um, and try and help alleviate to some extent with hyperspace.
Yeah, that's good. I was gonna lead right there. Like, what gap then are you filling often there? Is it the build side, design side, a mix of both?
Yeah,
Like where, and then honestly, like how do you present it as well? If you have, and I actually want to go back one step first before we
yeah,
get
yeah.
into that, but just something on you said is like co-founder Scott and I at Profluence. He was consulting for a company I was working for 5 years ago, and we took basically 3 years exchanging before there was the trust and hey, we both want to really go build this. Same with you and your
Yeah, Zach.
co-founder in this and the previous, yeah, Zach, because it's like, hey, you knew each other from tennis. It's so hard to find those people, especially if you're like, it's almost like they have to come from somewhere before. I just wanted to point that out, and I don't know how you really find that elsewhere, elsewhere. But anyway, people do. Is that sort of what you guys are doing? If people can't find that person, where it's like, hey, I have this idea, but I need sort of, and maybe I'm looking to find someone, or how does that fit in, or how do you guys think about it?
Yeah, so I mean, we have a pretty sizable team at this point, a lot of software engineers, front end, back end, web, mobile, UX, UI design team, data scientists, and technical product managers is kind of the core, of what we provide. And for any company, if you're at the ideation stage, you have a great idea, you're early in the fundraising process, and you're looking to go build that first MVP all the way to, you're a Series A company that has a good core infrastructure team, but you're looking to move faster or accelerate through the product roadmap. Our model lends itself so we can provide senior resourcing in whatever verticals or skill sets that you need on essentially a month-to-month basis. And you can scale these resource allocations up and down with just 30 days notice. And if anybody happens to leave, we can backfill somebody immediately. So you alleviate all of those concerns around losing somebody, concerns around having that specialization within the workforce, and just concerns about how quickly or slowly you need to grow. Different startups have different runways. We see time and time again, you thought you'd raise, the next round by next month, and here's next month, and it's still in progress. So you need to cut that burn drastically so you can move forward and still progress as a business and survive. So we provide that flexibility to build with the founder, as quickly or slowly as they need.
And from a technical lens, where do you see a lot of this going? And just quick preface of where that question comes from is, you see a lot now about, oh, small teams and use AI to
Yeah.
do a lot of
Yeah.
this. And from a macro perspective, where do you see tech going? Where do you see building companies? How do you see the early stage evolving? As obviously, I'm sure you guys are right on top of it at the cutting edge of where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting space. I don't have any crystal ball or for sure answer to anything. But I would say it's very interesting over the last decade, as you said. It starts, the barriers to entry are a lot higher, infrastructure, compute costs, a lot higher, and things moved more slowly. And then as you progress, really year over year, and now we have the AI boom, things are moving faster than ever. I firmly believe this AI movement is here to stay, and it's going to probably get pretty wild over the next 5 to 10 years. As you said, a lot of skill sets are being replaced by AI. Fewer people can do more, and trying to have kind of a lens as to how you can leverage that technology just to accomplish your goal, even more efficiently than the day before, and also trying aggressively to keep up with all of the latest models, all of the big tech companies, what they're doing, what their initiatives are, just so you can continue building products that consumers will like and that will be competitive in the marketplace. But yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty crazy world in 5, 10, 15 years with everything advancing in AI.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, that's for sure. We'll see
Yeah,
how it all plays out. Yeah. But on that front, has that helped you guys at all? Like, are you able to get things done faster? Have any of your engineers sort of reported back to you of like, hey, this would have typically taken us 3 months, but it only took us a month because of assistance? Or what's sort of the internal feedback with, I view AI as like, it kind of makes dumb people dumber. And like, I was out this last weekend and it's like people are asking it for every, like, what drink should I get? Like, it's like kind of stupid. Like, they
yeah,
need it for everything. Like, but then the smart people, it's more like an assister. It makes you smarter, like using as assistant. I'm just always curious on the tech front, like how they're reporting back. Cause I'm not technical. I don't code. So I
yep.
use it for, more marketing type stuff.
For sure. Yeah, no, I mean, using it heavily now and trying to, again, use it to our advantage or to build better products to the best of our ability. I'd say the two biggest things that I see with engineers leveraging AI, again, this is just for our organization and some of the startups we work with, but one, you definitely can get AI to generate various code snippets or even certain functionality for an application that you can spin up quite quickly, whereas before you may need to write all of that from scratch. So that definitely helps accelerate some of the core framework and kind of infrastructure needs for whatever you're building. And then I think the other big one is just around kind of the QA and testing perspective. So leveraging AI to find best practices in terms of writing clean code and also finding bugs in something that an engineer has written or doing quick reviews or exec sums on big source code files. All of that helps expedite some of the processes on the back end just so you get to where you want to be a little bit faster. But yeah, as we look ahead, I think that the merge between natural language and programming is probably getting more unified. So year over year, we're seeing pretty drastic changes there. And like I said, in 5 years, I think it's going to be quite different from what it was 5 years ago.
Yeah. It's, who knows? I think I mean, I typically think in a positive way, but I think we might enter like one of the coolest time periods ever. So it's like a cool time to be alive in history. But,
Yeah,
if everything goes right and the tech's used right, and, things always take longer too than a lot of people think. So most people don't even know about Bitcoin. Most people don't even know about,
yeah,
AI tools. It's like, unless you're in
yeah,
it, like all of us listening, and obviously us having this conversation, you realize like the general population is just so slow to most things,
yeah,
pretty nuts. But
100%.
Hyperspace, are you guys looking to do some more things like you did in pickleball? How do you look at, that capital investment into a chunk, build your own little ETF portfolio, as I called it, and then, design, build, do what you guys do best?
Yeah, so certainly providing resourcing and trying to help accelerate the whole sport of pickleball in any way that we can on the tech front. I mean, you have all of the media components with, pickleball.com. They've joined the two pro leagues, PPA, Major League Pickleball. They have some of the e-commerce components going with Pickleball Central, some of the kind of play rating ed tech components. So they've done a fantastic job on the ecosystem. And like I said, we're fortunate we could play a very small part. Anything we can do to continue to help build on the tech side, all of those core pillars is something we'll keep looking for in the future with pickleball specifically. And yeah, we have some other exciting news, hopefully dropping in the next month or two, just around another pretty big double down on the pro league side of things. So excited to share that. But yeah, we're very much so all in on pickleball and certainly open to exploring ways we can help other leagues and other sports grow in similar capacity. We've been reached out to certain entities, tennis, paddle, even some of the new, basketball leagues, etc. So yeah, we love sports, we love
Super cool.
technology, whatever we could do to help.
Super cool. So where can people learn more about Hyperspace? And I don't know your process. Is it, people got to submit stuff? Do you guys have demo calls, or what sort of the space look like, and where can people go find that?
Yeah, no, hyperspaceventures.com has all of our kind of work materials. There's an ability to apply right there, and that'll go to one of the team members who will source it to wherever it needs to go and have an introductory call, see if, again, there are product needs that we can help out with, if there are capital needs that we can assist with and come in as an investor. And yeah, pretty straightforward. Obviously, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or other as well. If you have a great idea that you need some help building, it's what we
Awesome.
love.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll put all those links. And yeah, no, Taylor, appreciate you coming on. An awesome conversation, and excited to see the new news and you guys doubling down on sports. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, really appreciate it. Yeah, glad we were able to connect and appreciate you reaching out and supporting us as well. It's always great. And yeah, we'll definitely have to get together next time down in Florida.